with this champion. For example, Kuro for BLG yesterday, 0-6-0, 0-3-0, 0-9-0 match score on mid lane Renekton. It beats Irelia, and it can beat other melee champions. Azir pretty far from that.
Absolutely. We actually saw Yukal absolutely punish the melee matchups, as this Azir didn't ultimately win the game, however had a gigantic farm lead over, I believe, the Silas in the mid lane. And the last breath, that's what I want. I just want that to happen on 3 members of the enemy team at least once. Let's go. Genji fans in full voice, but at least this time we had the coordination for Jin Greenwings. Already a little bit of a scuffle as our life is going to head back home. Really excited to see how this bottom lane is going to work from Genji, because we just love this duo. We always have the Gragas and the Yasuo just so good at setting up for those ultimates, and has a little bit more power as far as the laning phase is concerned as a duo.
So let's think about some of the intricacies of why Genji first rounded Yasuo or Gragas. I know they hovered the Sivir later, but you know, if we could call that, it's probably the bot lane duo.
Yeah.
Given that there was no other info, he's locking Yasuo out of meta as a first round pick. I'm sure Jinna was aware of this. Here's some mechanics to consider. When it gets post level 6 for the Yasuo, you can actually hold the insanely squishy Nico in the air instantly, right? Because a body slam into a last breath, there's not going to be the ability to use you and me. And with the low base health, maybe not initially, but even Shiv onwards, maybe there's kill pressure when exhaust is down on Kellen, so that's a fun thing to consider. Coolest mechanic we've seen in pro players, Vizicachi showing just how strong the W from Poppy is. To just stop the Nico from ever going anywhere. I'm saying Nico, but that's not who I mean.
Yeah, Yuumi.
I mean Yuumi. But stop the Yuumi from going anywhere, so that's another cool mechanic. It's mid lane.
Yeah, Malrang is already ganking onto Kuzan. He actually holds on to the cleanse. That is real heads up. Actually not worried about trading his health bar.
Level 2 Elise. Not something that people respect.
Nope.
There was no Q available. It was EW start, so that's why he held on to the cleanse, because there was never going to be kill pressure, even with press the attack, ignite Renekton.
Well, Cullen and Root are actually in a lot of control in the early stages. Of course, the first few levels aren't the best for the Yasuo and the Gragas, but all of the levels aren't great in this 1v1 matchup between Grace and Kuzan, now, unless Grace can get on top of it.
And the thing is, in the mid lane, with it being such a short lane, your E is very likely to get you in range, right? And then if your rage is the right point, press the attack, ignite Renekton at level 4. I would say his burst range, or just during one combo range, probably 55% of Azir's health, 60%. So you do have to be careful there. Peanut on a really nice wraparound. Is this going to be aggressive Peanut?
Yeah, Ignite already going down. The You and Me has been utilized to make sure the Yuumi gets out, but that spell shield was stunning from Root. It's not going to be enough, but it looked pretty cool. First blood going over to Genji.
Really nice gank path there. Top side clear into bot side gank. Nicely done by Genji's superstar jungler. They pick up a kill in a lane that needs some help. It's double relic shield on the Yasuo and the Gragas. Nice start, Genji.
Yeah, really well played. Grace in the mid lane, you can see, is able to shove things up, as at least Peanut was shown on the map. Therefore, a little bit of pressure has been relieved. But man, let's have a look at this one once again. Genji once again with a bottom lane advantage.
And it's because of the gank timing. Top side clear into bot side gank, freed up of any need to go on to any Scuttle Crabs, even though, like you mentioned, Root's spell shield couldn't have been better and was skilled at level 2. There's just no way out through heal, exhaust, flash. Root dies, and that just means the next all-in might be even less kind to Jinna.
Precisely. Could be going from bad to worse. However, the range advantage of here on the bottom side when it's just Ruler versus Root is still going to feel okay, and that's why you see a 25 CS to 11 gap between Root and Ruler.
Very early levels here. Kuzan's been showing respect. He knows Grace actually up in CS.
Yeah.
Now, the main reason for that is that Peanut was definitely not going mid, so didn't have any jungle backup, and Elise was top side as that play happened, so I think it was mostly respect. But your assumption is, even with the lower base damage in the early levels, as Azir, who really wants his first item completion, should be plenty of electrocute trades to at least keep the health bar in from Grace in check.
Yeah, and you can see there is a minion wave that is going to be crashing forward, but you're right, that's not enough minions to even things out against Grace in this matchup, so a bit surprising. But now that the bottom side has been the focus once again from Genji, it's not exactly as much onus on this mid lane to perform like maybe we were expecting in the earlier parts of the draft.
And now I think we're all in life. Just fall into the fallback plan of waiting for level 6, and that's what you want to do in this lane. And your jungler's not there. Tip the hand now. Maran going for a lane gank. Wasn't spotted so far coming. There's no deep vision, so Genji have no intel on where Elise is.
Kellen going to you and me his way out of a potential attack.
Awkward that Jinner hadn't scouted the forwardmost brush, and even though Elise could have gotten in there with no penalty, they didn't know for sure there was no wards there.
Well, is Malrung going to go for the blind cocoon? Okay, the cute little wraparound is not quite enough there. Okay, cocoon is going to miss. Malrung's going to have to get out of there. I was blind, so respect to Malrung, but maybe could have waited another second before he could actually see life and land that skill shot.
A lot of time invested, though, and Peanut so far has been min-maxing, and then some. He's up a camp, the level. He's already got the first blood involvement as well. Rek'Sai not normally a Peanut champion by any means, so nice to see him finding that gank timing early to justify Rek'Sai's strongest point, which when you go Hail of Blades, those first 6 levels, you are almost uncontestable.
And right now, he's going to move his power towards the top side of the map. Linderung is already struggling here in this matchup. Cuvée, in fact, playing very, very well, and you'll notice Press the Attack is on the cannon. He wants to win this matchup and then keep winning, as the You and Me has to be used once again, but in the mid lane, Grace, he's used the Dominus already, gets the stun, but Peanut's going to slow him down. The knock-up is going to land. Do they have enough damage? Kuzan out of mana, and Peanut, he's been ignited, goes under the ground, trying to eat back that Fury, but it's not enough. The Spider Lady drops down and picks up a kill. On the bottom side, things are going even worse. Only level 5 for Ruler, as life is very, very low. Unable to turn that one around with a last breath because it's not skilled yet.
Engaged supports find it very difficult to keep their health bar up against the Q. And throwing all that harass from Comet on the Yuumi. Malrung's in position for a turret dive. Like you mentioned, no level 6s.
Yeah, Grace is going to come down as well. Life wants to have that explosive cask. Ruler wants to have that last breath, but neither are available. The Cocoon once again going to go wide, even though the wind wall was down. It was unnecessary. And Jinner just not going to be able to get anything and have to run away.
Peanut was there for the counter gank, but yep, that was actually Jinner. If they hit there first, the Invader's advantage means probably a kill coming in. Hopefully we get a replay of the mid lane fight. When I said be careful, I was talking to the people jumping on a Renekton.
Yeah.
When he has full rage, press the attack, ignite, you die real fast. His damage range onto many champions at this point is high, and that's why we're seeing this mid lane Renekton. If the matchup can be generous enough, things can go well. So he walks in, and the moment the Emperor's Divide goes down, he sees Peanut, he's like, okay, I have to consider my options here. You could consider brawling because you're above 70 rage, but when he turns around, auto, and one rotation with Ignite is 75% of Peanut's health. I believe he was going to time out there on Ignite, so I think it actually was needed for the Chilling Smite to pick up the kill. That just feels like not as much experience against it and not enough damage was the call from Peanut.
Yeah, and also that was due to the fact that there wasn't enough mana on Kuzan in the mid lane, so just a little bit of a miscalculation there on what they were capable of, but that could have gigantic implications. If there is any... you look down the list, the roster of champions in League of Legends, and you look at the most snowbally ones, I think that Renekton is certainly up there with one of the most snowbally champions of the game.
But also, if you open up the dictionary and look up outscaled, there's a picture of a very sad crocodile. So
yep, next to a Garen. I think both of them are just chilling there saying, why aren't we picking competitive as much?
Renekton, at the start, was that strong laner who went 1 damage item tank and just was outscaled so early, right? 22 minutes into the game. The full damage build, you do a lot of damage in a vacuum, but you're also a melee champion that doesn't always get to gap close into a team fight. Very hard to spread a lead as Renekton outside of in a 1v1 contest. So always kind of jury out on when and where Renekton going full AD is going to struggle, but in scenarios like that, he's looking good.
And here, the Aatrox is always going to struggle. Cuvée is really laying the hurt down on Linderung. He's only behind by about 16 CS. However, this lane is feeling difficult. Malrung is spending some time up here, though.
And if you wonder why the on-hit build, you noted it already before, Atlas, it's because Kennen's job in this game is to hold one lane. So they want to make it a 4-1 game where Azir wave clears in mid, Gragas and Yasuo always threatening and all in. And then Cuvee has to beat Renekton and Aatrox. Like, he has to win the side. If you go AP build, it's very easy to be contained or not be able to apply pressure. If press the attack, Kennen always applies pressure on whichever split pusher, then Gen G can really have a lot of time to consider, when do we go for that cast? When do we go for that engage? So hopefully, from a Gen G perspective, Cuvee can buy that time.
Yeah, and also we already mentioned the fact that Renekton is able to do a lot of damage if he goes for that damage build, and then wants to utilize that damage in a side lane most likely, despite the fact that he doesn't have the teleport. So Cuvee, if he can win that matchup, it is going to be, like you say, with the on-hit build, is in the best opportunity to stop the power of the Renekton from even being possible to be utilized.
Feels so bad to lose multiple turret plates to a Yasuo lane, but chased out of the jungle as Peanut and Kuzan roam down for both the Drake and pressure. That bot side quadrant. Cuvee got a back timing and not even a turret plate to punish him. Malrang got the Rift Herald overall, and he's looking to try to use it somewhere.
Actually hanging out here in the mid lane. Kuzan full vision of where Malrang is.
Now, I assume we're all going top. This seems like a set-piece play to try to use the Rift Herald top side and not be counter-ganked. Peanut doesn't spot them. I don't believe they're in range. They will be now.
Yeah, looking for some tunnels here to utilize. Cuvee, Slicing Maelstrom does come in. It's a decent double stun, but I think the Kennen is still in a hell of a lot of trouble. Dodges out of the way of the Cocoon, but it just doesn't matter. The fancy feet were there, but they weren't fancy enough as Kuzan pushing Linderong underneath the turret. It's one turret shot. Peanut gets in there. The hail of blades is raining down on Jin'er. Double kill for the jungler of Gen G. Grace has to slice his way out of there.
And we talked about the comms being off in game number 1, much more on in game number 2. Early call from Peanut to try and bring some defense up top side allows them to lap up after the inevitable kill onto the on-hit Kennen. Now in the mid lane.
Yeah, last breath is going to come down. See you later, Mr. Crocodile. Gen G are going to be able to push this wave forward, and it might even be more than just the kill, as Ruler has more plates on his mind.
The Wombo comes in. Ruler, like you mentioned, is the person to profit. Throws the TP out of Aatrox. Definitely someone they can't also look to further dive. But Gen G ahead of the play in game number 2, and now to the tune of around a 3,000 gold.
And the thing that's ridiculous is the fact that they don't have 2 teleports. They don't have another teleport to reach up towards Kuzan here, who's got himself 2 plates as well. You can see it's 3,000 gold at 12.5 minutes in this game. And this is the Gen G that everyone's wanted to see. This is the evolution of this team that we wanted, because before this, they've never been able to find these kinds of plays, these kinds of proactive moves around the map, and Peanut, he's 2-1-2. He's been doing everything this game.
We've been waiting to use Evolution on the Gen G squad for quite a while. In Kesper Cup, they showed some signs. In this game, they're showing signs, but we know enough to hold our tongues when it comes to full-on Evolution. It's a good look for Gen G in game number 2. They need to have different pace options because, you know, we're in a meta where games can be fast, and if you're always slow, you will be found out. Grace just so disconnected from the dive. It is happening far away from him, but he shows a lot of respect and ends up going down. Then he goes mid lane, and sadly, he's lapped up there as well.
And it's all too easy. I mean, as far as unlosable situations are concerned, that's about the best one for Gen G. As the Yuumi has been a non-factor this game, to be honest.
Double kill potential every time they walk up to the Sivir.
Yeah.
And you can't just use Spell Shield, right? You can Spell Shield the cast. The Body Slam Flash will do the job anyway. Malrang jams top side. And it's going to be a mountain of turret plates going the way of Jin'er. In the bot side, Ruler and Life, as a 2v2, are zoning away the Sivir.
Yeah, threatening the dive over and over again. Last breath available once more as the Prowling Projectile is not going to find anything. Gen G, though, the bottom lane is just more than happy to stay in this brush. They're denying any sort of extra vision and making sure that Jin'er can't enter halfway through the lane.
And if you notice the minimap, is Grace going to find Cuvee?
Yeah, he's going to go into the Lightning Rush. Slicing Maelstrom is going to be used where Linderong does land the Infernal Chains, but it doesn't matter. He's still able to land the kill. And Cuvee is going to fall. Ruler taking some damage here as this is the combo we were talking about. The final chapter is going to come in, but Root still has to flash away defensively. And Gen G happy to stand their ground despite that ult.
But while all the mechanics didn't hit, you see why they go this way. We talked about the double kill potential if you take down the Sivir. You also have the win wall to interrupt the final chapter.
Yeah,
so you don't actually get stunned and you continue to brawl. Now, not everything was perfect. It isn't pulled off textbook. but maybe this is a strategy people will look to because you need your prepared earlier strategy to deal with a lot of UV lanes.
And once again, Papa Smithy, even though we were talking about the fact that Cuvée was doing very well in his lane, the power has been shifted, as Linderung did get a lot of those turret plates. Shelly was utilized towards the top side. You can see the money is in advantage to the Aatrox, and the bottom side of the map, once again, got all the help from Gen G. So we're in the ruler show once more, but this time he's wielding the Yasuo.
And this is not a wave the finger at either team. It's just that Gen G have done more things on the map. They had control ward line all the way along the bot side and a Gragas, so Yuumi could never even walk up and try to contest vision. She was going to die doing that. The trade was top side control, and like you mentioned, on-hit cannon now falls behind and isn't quite as strong, but double control ward, triple control ward, Jin Air, they seem like they want to fight.
Yeah, Root's going to turn up. Blastcone's his way towards. We've got a teleport coming in onto one of these tunnels. Cuvée wanting to get a bit of a team fight going on this on-hit cannon.
No ult left.
Yeah, and Grace in position now on top of control vision. Control ward goes down there from Ruler, and now the Cocoon's going to land from Malrung. Lots of damage onto Cuvée, who won't be able to be fighting, especially not with that ultimate in this fight. Doesn't actually have it available as he eats some honey fruit to keep himself relevant. Kuzan out of the way of the prowling projectile. As you can see Kellen just hopping around with the you and me. Peanut slowed, not taking too much there, as Cuvée putting pressure on the bottom side just to deny Jin Air the free ability to get around this Infernal Drake. This is what they're fighting for. Both teams, battle lines have been drawn, and who is going to be heading in there first? Life off to the side, waiting for that cast opportunity. Dominus has been popped. The flash in for the Emperor's Divide is going to be the answer. Last chapter's down, but it's just not doing anything. Dragon goes over to Gen G, and they kill the Crocodile.
Gen G control the territory, and that's where Azir is the Emperor. He's so good if you're coming to him. Able to disengage, able to pick up the Inferno, and now Gen G want mid lane outer as well.
Yep, they should easily be able to do it with the extra man advantage that they have. Grace is also a lot of the power that Jin Air have on the map, and you can see Root, there is no opportunity, not even able to get through the wind wall, as you can see. So many different walls on this Gen G comp. Actually, with Kuzan and Ruler both having one available, and he's going to be out of falling in the mid lane and top lane out of the last one remaining, but the gold lead is just steadily increasing here for Gen G.
Remember, Gen G had all the wards bot side, so they control this territory and have Kuzan poking around. You see the attempt by Grace is to go in there with the final chapter and make the play happen, but just the wrong direction because he can't actually get behind the team like he wants. He wants to be kiting upwards towards the enemy blue buff, so he's stunning the whole team, but Emperor's Divide means the final chapter looks silly. The contest on the Drake on their weak side also kind of been a recurring theme for Jin Air over the course of this series, and they escape from another fight. And remember, this is an Aatrox and Renekton comp that wants to brawl now while the early items are done. They're not finding advantages in these brawls, Atlas.
Yeah, they're going to be hanging up their hats, I think, as this game moves further and further, which is often the way against Gen G. I really like the idea that Jin Air had. Like, let's play for the early game and try and win there, because Gen G always like to win late, and generally that's your opportunity. However, this time around, it's just not working. Linderung, that World Ender should be renamed this game.
Yep, he just dies instantly, and you know, we kind of fall into traps of rewarding both sides. You could say, well, play early against the team that can't close, then you can just beat them before they're ready, and you can also, in the previous game, say the opposite, right? Scale alongside them, they won't be able to punish you. So we don't want to just be kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with Gen G. They need to be able to play both speeds. Speaking of speed.
Yeah, we're going to look for the last breath. In fact, Ruler holds onto it for as long as possible, dancing around this minion wave. Not going to quite be enough as a volatile Spiderling doesn't land, and Life is able to lock down the kill in the meantime, and now it's a 2 versus 1. Ruler finds Malrung, teleport, time being bought there with the stopwatch. Knock up, not going to land there as Yuumi comes in on top of that teleport as well. Prowling projectile lands onto Ruler, but he makes it into the brush and body slam. Gets Life out of the way, and in the meantime, Gen G are destroying the structures of Jin Air.
The double TP for the price of no kill was bad, but they lost 2 turrets as well. Atlas. They're losing everything across the map, and now Linderung walks up, summarily dismissed in every single way. Jin Air fall apart in that move. On screen, off screen, everything going the way of Gen G.
And it feels like Gen G just have a trillion different note buttons, and you could just say no to Jin Air if they want to try and start a fight on their terms, even able to get one back as Grace was actually toppled by the support Gragas.
Ruler starts this at almost no health. He'd already taken the full rotation Ignite, but actually gets the extra Q, then uses the Last Breath rather than using it off cooldown. The extra damage means they get the first kill, and they get the Triumph proc onto Ruler. I believe you should detach here and actually hit the stun. If you had gone upwards, you would have actually hit at least a couple of bolts onto Ruler, and then maybe the Q kills. I mean, we're splitting hairs. The more important thing is you teleport in with 2 people, you don't get any kills, and you lose 2 turrets off screen.
Yeah, should have got something there because all of the structures falling down is a huge problem. In a turret on the bottom side and the mid lane. And now it's just pretty easy to walk down top side of the map, which is exactly where you want to be because it's around that Baron buff. Peanut finds Kellen. He gets exhausted, but Kellen has to pop the you and me. Can he actually get in there and get anything done? Nice knock up there onto Linderung as the World Ender is available. He's able to create some distance, but now Kellen is on his own. And sometimes Yuumi makes it feel like you're turning one of your players into a god. That was making it feel like a 2-for-1 special.
An enchanter like Yuumi from behind is the freest of double kills. Just the reality that she has no base stats. She has no chance if her host is dying. And Linderung was always on the trip to the death chamber. On that particular play, gold lead is getting to silly territory, Atlas. It's actually an 8,500 gold lead at 21 minutes, which in many regions, we're thinking of specifically the LPL, but the LEC as well, kind of a normal gold lead because the game can snowball quickly. But in the LCK, with Gen G on the Rift, this is the fastest game we've seen them play in many years.
Yep, and so many of the buttons were already on cooldown there for Kellen. You saw I had to use both summoner spells before any sort of fight had actually erupted, which is why there was no way to support Linderung. Of course, the Zoomies was already used also to try and get that extra movement speed, which meant that Linderung was just an Aatrox and had a Parasite on his back.
Yuumi goes from being the neighborhood cat you love into a stray cat that needs to be sent away. That's just how it goes, but they're trying for another brawl.
Yeah, they are going to at least be able to find the snare here onto Peanut, but he does go golden to buy some time. Does have the Void Rush, trades 1 for 1. As now Live gets in, that's the 3-man ultimate coming out of Ruler as the Blasco gets everyone out of there as Kuzan just wipes the floor with the Aatrox. Root tries to land the boomerang, at least gets it, but Gen G are distracted by this Infernal Drake. It's the only reason why Jinna are able to get out alive.
We were talking about dictionary definitions earlier. Outscale was the one we mentioned. Wombo Combo has Yasuo and Gragas best friends forever. Really nice engage there. They couldn't cement all the kills. Ruler would have had to flash over the wall to make that happen, but Kuzan was there, ever the deft hand on this mid lane Azir. All the plans coming together. Double Infernal, 7 kill lead, 10,000 gold lead. Jin can't win in the 1, they can't win in the outnumber, and they definitely can't win in the 5v5.
And this started so poorly for Peanut. He got stunned out of his tunnel, and he had to flash over the wall and then still got stunned, but still bought so much time. And you saw this, Ruler holding everyone in the sky, and then Kuzan just evaporates them with a line of soldiers.
Really nicely played by Kuzan. You know, he wasn't the big carry there, but he knew what his job was, and if you missed that spell shield time, and you're all dead. So,
yep.
Nicely played by all members of Gen G. We talked about how they kind of hustled and bustled around Baron, but didn't start it early enough. This one is the right time, and they're all over it.
Yeah, and you have a 10,000 gold lead, so I don't think Gen G have too many cares about starting this one up. They should be able to turn pretty easily as well, as Cube has teleport available. Sand Soldier's now spot Grace, moving his way in. Dominus has been popped. The knockup is going to land. He at least gets into the pit as the Rek'Sai locks down the Baron, but can the Croc do anything? Nope, he's been turned into a handbag. It's a double kill already for Peanut, who's popping off this game. Ruler dives on forward, he's looking for Root, Spell Shield is used, Stopwatch is used from Ruler as well. Buys some extra time, knockup's good, but he has to flash to get out of the way. Peanut, no flash available for him and doesn't actually have the tunnels to get out. Cuvée decided that he didn't want to teleport in. He's got a Baron now, thanks to the rest of his team, and he will break the base.
And the team fight pretty even in a 4v5. Only reason those kills were coming and Root was so healthy was it, like you mentioned, Cuvée had better things to do, and I tend to agree with him. That's how you know you're ahead, when your Yasuo continues to team fight while you're taking down an inhibitor on the bot side. Watch all this and remember the context. It's a 5v4 the entire time. TP not completed, but gonna be soon. Re-engage comes in. Last Breath is only onto Renekton. That's why the health bars are so healthy. It's a disconnected effect there. So I think Renekton's job was actually well done in the backline, dying as he did. But from here, Gen G have to fight so valiantly because it is that 5v4.
Yeah, Life barely managing to escape, and somehow Ruler as well, flashing away. Peanut, of course, not so lucky. No tunnels available, as you can see it on the ground just there. Was utilized earlier, and no flash after that earlier pickoff. Grace still doing his best to try and farm this one out, but 0, 5, and 4, it's feeling like the Koro version of this pick in the mid lane. We all want to see more Doinby Renekton, but it feels like it's he has a special touch when it comes to mid lane Crocodiles, and also tends to pick them in the right matchups.
It's a sometimes food, is what people need to know. Just like the Trundle, I think, Renekton, when he's on in the right matchup, he's really on. And also, if you're a player with that mindset like Doinby, it's on. Here we go, another all-in attempt.
Yep, last chapter comes down. The wind wall is decent, but Ruler's going to die this time. No opportunity to get a knock-up as the You and Me actually dodges out of the way of the cask. 2 kills for the Sivir very easily. In the meantime, Cuvee is playing some PvE League of Legends, taking down turrets elsewhere on the map.
Cuve's got his 1-2-5 stat line, and damn it, he's not willing to change it. This is, in fact, his favorite stat line. It's a very Cuvee stat line, to be fair. Continues to push. Some kills come in. Now, no objectives behind those kills, but you step up again and again and just donate gold to Jin Air. The game clock goes longer. Is it likely to change the game state? Our first initial impression, given the gold lead, is no. But all Jin Air can do is kill the people in front of him.
Yeah, and actually getting 2 kills honestly doesn't mean anything, because the gold is actually going to be evened out by the turret that you can see in the minimap going down. The little lightning rat. As Jin Air, yes, there was some good catches on the bottom side of the map, but they're going to need to do way more to find their way back into this game. Still 10,000 gold lead, 40 seconds left on that Baron buff, and at least they did buy themselves some time so that Baron doesn't get yet another inhibitor. However, that damage had already been done the instant the Baron went down. And
kind of the struggle for the side of Jin Air, we talked about how Gen G wanted to set up 4-1, and it's been as 4-1 as possible.
Yeah.
The Cuvee in the top side, they can also group, and while you look at a Yasuo comp and say, ooh, Siege not that great, the dive here is pretty straightforward if the right cask or Emperor's Divide hits, so your turret dive threat is higher than usual on the side of Gen G, so not a lot of relieving pressure options available. The double kill no longer relevant as everyone's back on the Rift. Baron buff times out, not a huge Baron buff power play, but a lot of the damage had been done even before Baron went down.
And that pressure is starting to mount. You can see super minions are moving towards the bottom side of the map. Gen G right on time are going to be in this mid lane, ready to get that siege happening. It's not necessarily working. Sun turret is erected in the mid lane. At least make sure that Jin Air is going to have to dive as well if a fight is going to break out. Peanut taking a lot of damage from Malrang, who'd ventured out into the wilderness that was his own jungle. Not able to get anything done. The gold lead is going to extend for Gen G.
Sivir loves game states like this, where
she does, it's true.
Walks up, isn't under imminent pressure of dying until we see a pretty big all-in. Top side.
Speaking of which, Cuve's going to get the flash. Actually looking for Malrang there. The autos are going to land. Lightning Rush is used offensively from Cuvee. He will get taken down. The tower falls in the mid lane, though. Feels like Gen G got what they wanted, but I don't know whether Cuvee needed to go back for more.
They seem to be just kind of ramming their heads against what feels like an inevitable victory for Gen G, but the execution on it leaves a little bit to be desired. Whether they're grouping or playing 3 or 2 lanes seems to be evolving without a lot of forethought from the side of Gen G, so tripping on the execution. Very greedy from Cuvee. He turns around when he sees the repel and he's like, ooh, I could get a double kill here. And I understand the first thought, because if you watch this fight, Cuve's running, and then he's like, wait, I've got my Rage Blade stacked up. I can go in. The first order is fine, but why are we Lightning Rush from turret range?
Yeah.
Like, that part is where it's just a big botched execution from Cuvee. Doesn't play that perfectly. It's imperfect, but again, imperfect after you've had a good early game, a lot more forgiving. Not a way that Gen G usually play the game, given their usual inaction, but mistakes they can now afford to make because of the first 15 minutes.
And how do you feel about Gen G extending the Drake count as well? They took the Ocean Drake and have forced another Cloud Drake here on the map. Do you think that's because they didn't want to have an earlier Elder Drake, or do you think that this was strategic so they can play around the Baron a little bit more?
I actually think it's very mindless. You know, LS obviously very outspoken about this. I think it's much better for Gen G that they just have the Elder spawn earlier, because right now,
that's what I think
Jin Air can't get out of their rip at 40 minutes if the game is still going. Then there is a real world where it ends up being objective for an objective trade. So I think it was just, it's up, let's kill something that where the bad guys aren't, rather than actually thinking too far there. With how far ahead they are, they're not bookkeeping Atlas. They've thrown out anything, if your receipts aren't there for tax season, you can pay a very big penalty. So right now, they're hoping they never even reach tax season.
The thing that's really scary is the fact that this is still a Sivir. Root has got to his items, and there's a Yuumi there on the side.
But it's also a Renekton and an Aatrox,
True,
right? And
true.
If you can't break the base in multiple places, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Yuumi is still being annoying. Waiting for Gen G to make that move. Of course, the Baron is available. Gen G can just walk on over to it. You can see what Jin Air tried to do last time, and it does give Gen G some pause. As Rule is just going to go for the solo here. Windwall does help out. Peanut gets over. Kuzan and Life just going to play defense on this one as it's already down to half health. And Cuvee is on the bottom side of the map, just split pushing this one away. Grace moves over. Life gets in there, but he doesn't actually even have to. He had the opportunity of bopping Grace out, but doesn't have to at that stage. And the Kennen once again with the Baron buff in perfect position, as now he's looking for the 1v1 onto Linderung. Linderung going to dive on forward, does have himself the stopwatch as Cuvee wants to lifesteal, but he doesn't even need to. Jin Air will bring some friends over, but Cuvee's looking to die to, I think, the fountain, or
He's
maybe try and get out topside. Still a turret up there, mate, as that's not where he's getting out, but Gen G utilized the time really, really nicely. They'll take down the top inhibitor turret, the mid inhibitor. They got the bottom inhibitor as well, and it feels like Gen G are just stretching Jin Air across the map, despite the fact that they do have these early skirmishing champions. Gen G don't even want to fight them.
And no one would ever accuse Cuvee of being a KDA player. He's 1, 4, and 5. Right now, his KDA is 1.25. That's not good.
Nope.
Cuvee could have approached this in many different ways and then just decided, well, I have my Rage Blade stacked up, so let's go for the all-in anyway. Understand the theory, but you can also just protect the KDA a little bit.
Yeah, he could have like maybe taken a different way out. However, I guess Malrung was going the long way around, so taking a reverse.
I mean, this part is actually
exit.
perfectly played by Cuvee because you want to waste time while you can actually use the Baron.
So while the stopwatch was going on, he could have just left, right? Is that what you're saying?
If you die fast in that scenario, you don't actually get to push 2 inhibitors.
Yeah.
Turrets down, so I think the latter part is fine, but it's another one of those games where you look back on those Season 2, 3 Uzi clips and you're like, but why were you there to sick outplay?
Yeah, that's true.
What was it that you were there to outplay them on? At some point, you're just outplaying because you know you can.
Yep.
And I think Cuvee's split pushing because he knows he can.
Well, I mean, it's working so far. As Kuzan once again going to set up a Sun Turret, this time on the top side of the map. Last remaining inhibitor on this map here as we're going for the big flank. Jin Air looking for the final team fight. Cuvee gonna get blocked off here from the flank.
And Linderung's flanks have sometimes been a little bit on a
now
holiday.
it's 3 versus 5, and Malrung's just gonna get taken out immediately. This was not the engage you were looking for. Once again, the Crocodile is not gonna get any work done. Root on his fountain is gonna burn to death as Life takes it down, and Gen G, the 2-0 very quickly against Jin Air Greenwings.